Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning and welcome back to Government Contracting Weekly, where each week we aim to provide you tactics and techniques that will help you, the government contractor, win a government contract, always using principle-centered winning. This morning we're on location at Google Federal. As you can tell, I have with me Ella Fitzgerald, and we're going to learn in the show the significance of this Ella Fitzgerald room. We'll also learn a lot of other interesting information from Mike Bradshaw, the director of Google Federal. Thank you for joining us. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Government Contracting Weekly. This morning we're on location at Google Federal and we're joined by Mike Bradshaw. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Hilary.
And Mike heads up Google Federal here, and we're also joined by another special guest this morning, Ella Fitzgerald, behind us here. And I understand, Mike, that you have different rooms named after different celebrities. If you'd like to tell our audience about that.
Absolutely. Part of Google culture, we have to come up with a theme for our conference rooms. So we did. We have Ella Fitzgerald here. We have Lewis and Clark. We have Admiral Byrd. We also have Patsy Cline, Sam Snead, Arthur Ashe, and George C. Scott. And we have a great time bringing people around to see if they can guess what the theme is. Okay. So the question is, can you guess what the theme is?
And I think what we're going to do, actually, we're going to see if our audience can guess what the theme is. If you can, or if you'd like to see the answer and you can't guess what the link is between all those celebrities, do visit Government Contracting Weekly and we'll have the answer there for you. And we'll see who maybe might guess. But I'd love to know for our audience, tell us more about what Google Federal is actually doing. What are you doing now in the government contracting space? And tell us about why you got into this marketplace and how it's going for you. Absolutely.
We've been here since about 2005. And we're part of a group at Google called Enterprise. So most people think of the consumer products or the Google.com. We actually look at those products, see how we can repackage them so they're more appropriate for commercial customers or for government customers. And so again, that's our enterprise division. And we started Google Federal. We're actually a group of about 40 people now, and we have a lot of federal experience. Most people think we're a commercial company and don't know the federal government, but we actually have a lot of people who either came from the government or have been working with the government for quite a while.
So what kind of expertise are they coming to you with? What is it you're looking for our audience members who might be interested in Google? What do you look for in terms of expertise?
A couple things. We really look for people who understand the government environment, the procurement environment, really understand the rules and regulations. There are certain things people have to abide by, but also people who understand technology and how it can be brought in, new technology, and help the government transform how they currently do their business.
So is that what you're focused on, transforming government business, and what exactly are you doing currently?
It is focused on transforming government business. If you think about the amount of information that the government has, Google's mission is really to make information accessible to everyone. Now, what we do with federal government is help them make their information more accessible to their customers. So, and that's we sell 3 product lines, and they're all designed to help get information out to the customers.
So Mike, in those different enterprise divisions that you're in, what products are you offering from those enterprises?
We have 3 products, Hilary, that we sell to the federal government, or 3 product categories. The first is search, and that's how Enterprise was started originally. We took the bulk of the algorithms that you associate with Google.com.
As a verb to Google.
Exactly.
Right?
And we put them on a hardware device. And now we sell that. It's called the Google Search Appliance. And the goal is to help people be able to find information in their companies or in their agency just as easily as they can when they're on the internet and looking for information.
So really private to them.
Private to them.
And they're privy to the information because you can upload everything.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So then the other area is geospatial products, and they're a lot of fun. Have you seen Google Earth?
Yes, when you look up your property, your house, or building you're going to, or a region.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that product started in the federal government. It was an In-Q-Tel company, and we we've taken that, and there's a version you can install behind your firewall and have your own private globe. We also sell Google Maps. And so the geospatial products are fun products for us. People love looking at their environment, their houses, and everything else.
And what about the government? What is the government doing with that?
The government can use Google Maps to show where their certain facilities are located, get specific information out to their customer base. And with Google Earth, they can actually build private globes behind their firewall where they can keep information that's a little bit more sensitive to their mission, but again, protect it from anyone else seeing it.
So given they want to protect their mission, and there's obviously a lot of concern about security in the government, is it now still a good time for Google with sequestration, looming budget cuts? Is there still a good demand you're seeing for your services?
Absolutely. I think one of the benefits of bringing this consumer technology, the cloud technology, into the enterprise space is that it also brings in a new cost model. So people,
lower cost model.
Much lower. So people are used to the old enterprise pricing scenario, which was really getting too expensive. I mean, there was too much focus on maintenance, hardware, software for simple applications such as email. And now there's a new expectation that you should pay little to nothing for it based on what people have been able to get from the cloud or from the consumer technologies.
So that's what the government's looking for anyway. So that's you're in the right place at the right time.
It's a great benefit for the government.
Yes. So Mike, I know that you can't share your secret playbook with our audience, but to the extent that we have a lot of government contractors watching, subs that might want to work with you, or opportunities for other firms to partner with you, what are you doing in terms of your strategic plan that they should know?
Sure, Hilary. And first, I do want to make it clear, we're very much a partner-focused company. So we sell through partners in the federal government, work very closely with small, mid-sized, and large companies.
Well, first of all, so let's address that. What kind of partners are you looking for?
We look for partners that have expertise in the products that we sell, search integration of search technologies into mission-specific applications. It can be human resources, it can be procurement, it could be healthcare. We also look for companies that have expertise with geospatial products. That's a big area for us.
So you have the engine, you want their expertise and their niche, their knowledge.
Absolutely. We're a platform where people can build applications. So we look for people who understand how they can use that platform, those technologies, and build great applications for the government.
Okay. And what should companies that are maybe smaller, mid-size, what should they do to win with you? And then is there a difference between those and a larger prime that might want to partner with you?
It's very interesting. Sometimes the smaller companies are the ones that are more familiar with some of the newer technologies. So a lot of times we'll start with a smaller company, a smaller partner, work with them. They will help build a lot of the solutions. And then sometimes they are the companies that work with the larger systems integrators to help them learn the new technologies as well. But we definitely have had relationships with large systems integrators, particularly in the area of geospatial technology, for a good 6 or 7 years.
It's a long time.
A long time.
Yes. And then so tell us then, big picture, your strategic plan. Where are you looking to go to that firms that maybe you haven't ever worked with previously are watching today and might want to be in touch with you?
Well, again, I think where we are a little bit more limited is around the product sets that we have, except if you look where these platforms can go. So in cloud computing right now, we have so many products that are just beginning to be released that will allow people to put terabytes of data up into our data center and start running queries against them, or putting tons of satellite imagery up there and start doing an analysis of the different layers of satellite imagery. Things that require a lot of computing power. And people typically have not had that capability in-house, or it's very expensive. That's where it's great, where companies can figure out how to take advantage of these tools, extra processing capability, extra storage capability, and our algorithms that we make available to people. And how do they develop solutions for the federal government?
And the federal government, of course, always wants speed and always wants agility, because that's the criticism there's always been, and they're looking for that, and I know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And they have so much information out there that now, even older information, that would be great if we could take it, look at it, analyze it, meaning the government themselves, do research on it. You know, a lot of old information that's been around there for a long, long time. That's part of the excitement and benefit of cloud computing.
Yeah. From the archives to the modern era.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great way of summarizing that.
What about the application of your core competencies for the future? We know that you're on cutting edge today. Where are things going, and where should our viewers be thinking to apply their technologies for the future to partner with you?
Well, Hilary, it's an interesting question because I think for a long time people really thought that cloud computing was the end-all be-all, it was the big buzzword. But now people really understand that it's a tool. It's a information technology tool. If you understand that you now have this incredible processing capability available to you, you also have a lot of storage available to you at a very different cost model, much less expensive model.
And you can actually utilize that data because you can search it and do things with it, leverage it.
It really opens up the analysis of all this information that we may have collected in the past but really didn't look at or analyze or the way that we would want to.
And what about for specific companies that have an expertise maybe in that arena? How should they approach you? How do you normally work with partners?
Well, again, we work very closely with partners, and we welcome people who can look at the cloud computing, the tools, everything out there, and determine how best to integrate that into a government environment. And that's where you look at a company that's really a little bit more leading edge in their thought process, meaning they'll say, hey, we've had this standard HR application out there, but if we actually analyze the data very differently, or if we're able to put this massive amount of data in a facility and really spin it, look at it differently, we can offer a lot more value to the federal government.
There'll be a deliverable that they need to use that they're currently not able even to do capacity-wise.
And suggest to the government how they can better analyze their data through these facilities.
Because they're looking for cost savings
Absolutely.
for the taxpayer. Yes,
Absolutely.
That's good now. So now, Mike, there's a lot of information there on the cloud, and there are concerns on the commercial side, but also particularly in the government about security. We've previously had a show about cybersecurity, but this is an issue for Google as well. Tell our audience about how you're ensuring that's secure and what else you're doing in a preventative manner.
One thing, Hilary, Google was the first company to have have an email system that was FISMA certified, which is a government certification. So our data centers were certified to be able to be used by government at certain levels. But also I think what's interesting with cloud computing, and most people are beginning to realize this, is that the companies, the large companies that have these facilities, are being attacked globally. And so we, to protect our own business, we have over 250 security personnel on staff at all time, watching incidents around the world.
Phishing attacks, open source internet.
Everything.
Yes.
And again, the security issue has grown so much, we all know, in the last 5 years. But we have this great expertise in-house. It's very important to protect our business as well as our customers' information. So some are beginning to realize cloud computing can actually offer a more secure solution.
Ironically, which it never was sort of, it was always sort of out there, more vulnerable, but not.
But not, because even having a small private implementation of email on site, it's very easy for someone to accidentally, open the wrong email and bring in a virus.
So there's an insidious attack, but they're innocent and victims internally.
They're innocent. And also it's very hard for a lot of the agencies and a lot of the commercial customers to have the expertise in-house now that's necessary to really watch the global security threat that is out there. Also, what I love about cloud computing is it's very easy to see a security incident and build a patch or build a solution to that security incident. And then it's immediately available. You don't have to wait and make sure you roll it out, test it, and roll it out to everybody. And that's because to use cloud computing, we access it through a browser. We don't access it through big desktop software that has to be patched for these security incidents. So it really helps prevent a lot of security incidents within a company.
So they like that because you're actually preventative-wise helping them secure their borders of their information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the federal government too.
Yes, and also by having access through a browser, you can access through your phone, through your PC, everything else. But what we do is we leave the information in the data center. So a lot of security incidents are actually based on people leaving a laptop around with sensitive information on it. This way, the information is actually in the data center. You've lost the phone or the iPad, but you've not lost the information.
Because it can be shut down.
Because it is in the data center, not on the device.
Great. We love to ask the question about winning. What are the keys to winning in the federal space from your perspective, from Google's perspective, from your expertise, from your background, advice you've been given and what you follow?
Actually, Hilary, I'll say it from my perspective. I was a systems engineer with IBM back in the early 80s.
An engineer with personality.
And one piece of advice I was given right up front was make sure you don't get locked into one way of thinking about how technology should be implemented in an agency or with a particular customer. And It was great advice. I saw a lot of people very young immediately get locked into this is the only way of doing something. And with information technology, it changes so quickly. You really need to be watching all the time for new solutions, new ideas.
And the government's changing. People think that the government's static. The government is really adopting a lot of new technologies now.
Particularly in the last 3 to 5 years, very rapidly. I think you have to balance that in federal with the rules and regulations that they have, and you have to understand that. But it's so easy to say, this is the only way we do a particular solution. And that to me is the wrong way of approaching federal information technology.
And what about your proposals and your whole strategy and your whole capture process? What specifically do you tend to hone in on to make sure you're winning?
Well, I think it's like everybody else. We first have to make sure the solution works for the government. And so we have to work directly with the federal government. And then we also have to work with the large partners or the small partners, whoever will be bidding and responding to an RFP, to make sure they understand the technology and they can implement it the way that makes the most sense for the government.
So they can use it and leverage it correctly.
Yeah. So even though the technology is a little bit more leading edge or a newer technology, really the way we work with partners and with the government is very similar to how people have been working with the government and with RFP process for the last 30 years, at least since I've been involved.
But I know there's been a lot of changes in the whole procurement process recently. How has that affected Google moving forward?
I think the most exciting part is the focus on cloud computing, and it breaks all kinds of models. People don't really understand how the best way to bill it, the best way to ask for billing for it. Really, how is it's a service? How is it a service relative to old service models? So there are a lot of interesting changes going on right now, and we all have to just be very flexible and very dynamic to make sure we work with the government as everyone understands the best way to bring the technology into the government space.
I'm sure our audience can tell the same thing. You're passionate about this subject. You're obviously very knowledgeable. In terms of your leadership style, is that what you use to motivate your people? And what else are your leadership guiding principles?
Well, it's interesting, Hilary. One thing that I really look for when I hire people for this role is some people who are very passionate about the government. And there are a lot of people out there.
They care about their mission, what the government's got to accomplish.
They care about the government's mission. They came from the government, or they really care. They want to support the government's mission. And there are a lot of people in Washington who feel that way. Then I look for people who have really interesting ideas around information technology and how can they bring that technology in a way that's a little different than what's there right now. And if you find that individual, it's great. They're very motivated. They're passionate about the technology. They're passionate about Washington, D.C. and the environment. And it's actually a lot of fun.
So it's a winning combination, the two combined.
Absolutely. Then what you have to do is sometimes just get out of the way. Make sure you allow these individuals to get out there and show these solutions to the government and work with the government. So again, I try to steer some people certain directions, but really let them take advantage of their ideas, their knowledge of the government, and see what they can do to help transform the way the government does business.
So when you say about getting out of their way, one of the things that I noticed when we came in here to do, I mentioned we're on location, of course, here at Google. We heard the dance music, I believe it was this morning. So you have dance breaks. I've seen some of the sort of playrooms. Would you like to tell our audience a little bit more about your facilities? And really, from a business leader's perspective that might be watching, what could maybe they do to inspire their people? It's a tough time right now. There's budget cuts. Not always the merriest time to be doing business in Washington. So what do you do to keep the spirits up of your employees?
It's very interesting. Google has a great culture. I've really enjoyed being here. It's very different from a lot of companies that I've been with before, but it's similar in other ways. We started as an engineering company. And so if you have people on site an awful lot doing coding, focused on product development, you really want to make the environment nice for them as far as, food. They may be working very late. They may be very...
You have a full kitchen here.
We have a kitchen here. We have, they may be tense from working too much or stress on the coding. So we actually have yoga classes as well.
Yoga, and I saw there was a massage room. I know one of my team members was saying, gosh, can we have a massage team? I feel the same way. How about that? Everybody does.
We do. And it's interesting because it's usually the engineers here take the most advantage of it, which is great.
And they need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
A lot of us are out on the road more, so we don't get to take advantage of all the things. But I think, again, it's a lot of it gets down to how you treat people. I try and treat people the way I want to be treated, and I found that's probably been the most effective way of working with people and leading people. Treat them the way that I would like to be treated myself.
And you put a tie on for us this morning, but you don't always wear a tie. So it's a casual environment here.
It's a very casual environment. As a matter of fact, they make fun of me. I usually don't wear a tie, and I'm still made fun of as being overdressed.
Yes. like there are a great amount of differences with Google. Obviously, Google has become known as a verb now. What are you doing in the federal space, though, that really differentiates yourself from all the competition? You have a phenomenal reputation, but what is different and also different about your people and a different offering that you have for the government?
Well, Hilary, I think it's a lot of fun working for Google, just the excitement around the products. I do think we're a very different company. The people here are outstanding. I just love working with a lot of the individuals here. But I think we've also been able to transform a couple of things here. We were very aggressive up front with cloud computing, particularly around email. I think we have helped change the way the federal government looks at applications such as email or other applications that can use cloud computing. And a lot of that has to do with the people. They are very passionate about the solutions and how it can be beneficial. You hit a brick wall with a certain technology, all of a sudden people are very dedicated to figuring out a different way of doing it. And what I love also is people always ask why. Why are we doing things this way? Well, because we know we've done this for 15 years. It makes sense.
Thinking out of the box at Google.
Totally outside the box.
And is it right? Am I right in thinking? I think I might have heard somewhere that actually you had employees that were staying overnight and actually ending up sort of living here. That you had to say to them, "You have to get a home address," because they almost didn't. They wouldn't go home. Was that
not as much in Washington, but at corporate we have.
I've heard of that.
Yes. We definitely have people who like to stay very late at night, and we have a lot of facilities to help them work there and stay and work. But again, I think what's different is you take these people are so passionate about their jobs, about how to change the world in all kinds of areas. As a matter of fact, I don't think we talked about our 20% project.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard about that?
No.
So when engineers are hired here, they're given a 20% project where they can go and they're hired to do a coder on a particular project. They can spend 20% of their time doing whatever they want to.
Without supervision, without anybody looking into the questioning?
They usually have to get it approved high level by their management, but this is where actually Gmail came from. So a person was not pleased with the email system that was in-house, so they went out and developed their own email system. People looked at it, evaluated it at the company, and pretty soon it's developed into a new product.
So it creates innovation by giving them freedom of their mind.
Right. People are excited about being as green as possible, ways to save energy. It shows up in the data centers. It shows up looking at new ways of fuel for cars. We have very exciting projects such as Google Glass and also the self-driving car. I was very lucky to get in the car myself. Well, the car was in Washington, and I called up my sons and said, if you get downtown right now, we can get a ride around the block.
Oh, so the one that they actually have legislated that will now be available in California was here.
It was
on
here.
A visit.
It was here on a visit. And we rode in it around Washington around 12:30 during lunch hour when people are jumping off of curbs, running around trying to get to their lunch appointments. And it was amazing how far along the car is.
I've read that you can go for, I think the test prototype was 10,000 miles without any accident.
Exactly.
And most humans don't necessarily do that statistically. Right?
But I think that's what makes Google different, is you see, again, the passion people, you see people always questioning why are we doing something a certain way, and we're trying to bring that into the government to question, hey, here's a different way of doing things, here's a different approach. We think it'll help transform the government and hopefully enrich the lives of people who are involved with the solutions as well.
So that's really a big key to winning. Well, we appreciate very much all that you share with us. Thank you for having us on location here. Thank you for having us join Ella as well and our audience. So thanks for all your information.
Great. Thank you for inviting me.
Did you know one of the most common reasons that capture and proposal people leave the field is stress? That has to worry you. For more information, contact us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.
Welcome to our segment on Ask the Expert. This morning we have with us Jim McCarthy, owner and technical director at Key Solutions. And Jim has brought with him this morning a specific prescription for success. Jim, over to you.
Thank you, Hilary. This morning we heard from Mike Bradshaw about Google's interest in federal contracting. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret, and this is why I'm being paid the big bucks. Google will be successful and have a major impact on our market. That's my prediction. You heard it here. But it's also possible for companies of all sizes to have a major impact. But like so many things in life, you have to do it right. So here are 6 points that together I call your prescription for success when chasing government contracts. Prescription number 1, Build an opportunity pipeline. Not a pipeline of any opportunities, but one consisting of contracts that match your core competencies. Use a laser, not a shotgun, when selecting bidding opportunities. Prescription number 2, install a formal capture process and toolbox. Rigor and repeatability are key. So is having techniques to review bids, develop win strategies, perform competitive assessments, and design your technical and your management solutions. The third prescription, resist impulse bidding. Be forewarned. Don't be seduced into bidding on a contract just because it pops up on your radar. Beware of turning on your computer after a weekend and clicking on FedBizOps and chasing an opportunity just because it's there. Don't bid on a whim. Prescription number 4, appoint professional capture managers. New business is the lifeblood of your company. Don't risk your enterprise by going to your bench and choosing the last guy or gal sitting there. Invest in professional capture managers and then treat them like royalty. Prescription number 5, team strategically. Team for bandwidth. Team to compensate for any vulnerabilities. Team to position yourself in a new market. Team to improve your past performance portfolio. Team for a variety of reasons, but team. Far better to have 20% on a winning team than to have 100% on a losing team. And finally, prescription number 6, get to know your customer. I know this is hardly earth-shaking, but you'd be surprised by how many companies violate this basic commandment. Sure, okay, some company, somewhere, sometime has won work without knowing their customer. But that's a failed strategy, hardly one to bet your company's future on. If you don't know your customer, then they don't know you. Do you really think that the government in the end will award that $20 million plus contract to somebody that they've never met, they don't know, they've never seen? Oh, and one more thing, get an early start. Plan from the outset, be proactive, be out in front. If you jumpstart early, you'll have a decided advantage over 80% of your lumbering, slow-footed competitors. So there you have it, 6 prescriptions, 6 recommendations to win. Keep these in mind as you go to market, and like Google, your company's success will compound. Now, Hilary, back to you.
Thank you for joining us this morning here on location at Google Federal. If you have the answer or you're intrigued as to what is the answer to what is the link between all of those different celebrity names for which each of the Google rooms is named after, check out our website, Government Contracting Weekly. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for being with us with Mike Bradshaw and with Ella Fitzgerald here at Google Federal. Hope you'll join us next week.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.